Kayak fishing is a lot of fun. Something though that you need to be mindful of if you're going to go out this time of year when it's cold. Now, I apologize all you guys up north. I know you guys are frozen over still, but even down in the southeast, air temps and water temps are cold. In the wintertime, a lot of times water stays in the 40s. It might drop even below that. And you can still get out there. You can still have a lot of fun kayaking, but you got to be more mindful of safety than I think you do other times of the year, just because that cold water can be dangerous if you end up in it. And kayak fishing, I've done it long enough to know that you tend to get wet. Anybody who's done kayaking for any length of time, you tend to get some water on you. And in the summertime, the springtime, not as big a deal. It's nice and warm and sunny, but when it's cold out, getting wet can be dangerous. So one of the things that I like to do for wintertime is have lots of spare clothing. So I'll get into the sort of the dry bag in a minute, but the first thing for me is my hands, keeping my hands warm. My hands and feet tend to get cold. In the wintertime, it's hard for me. I can put on different layers of socks, insulated boots and things, but I tend to stay cold. So these gloves are important for me. And when I'm fishing, I like to use, these are I think Fish Monkey ones that have nice grip on the inside. I like this because of some of your other wool gloves, they don't necessarily have the grip on them. And I don't know if anybody else has ever cast a rod into the lake, but I've thrown a bait caster, been out there in it's cold weather. I've got my gloves on. I thought I had the spool depressed all the way. I haul off to make a long cast, and that bait doesn't go anywhere. It just sort of catches, and all that force ends up with the rod kind of flying through the air and sinking to the bottom of the lake. So grip is nice if you're going to get gloves. And I like these wool because the wool will still keep you warm even when it's wet. You can get these things damp. You'll still stay relatively warm. And I definitely will have a pair of like your snow gloves, like something that you use for skiing that's waterproof. I'll have those with me. And say if I'm going to paddle between spots, I'll put those on. But when I'm actually fishing, I really don't like not having the feel. And when you have those bulky gloves on, you don't have that sensitivity that you have with this. So a lot of times you can put hand warmers in your pockets, and maybe you're sitting out there, you're fishing a drop shot, just shaking it. You can have your other hand in the pocket with the hand warmer if it's really cold. But I like these fingerless just for that reason. And even though they will do a good job of keeping your hands warm when it's cold or when they get wet, it's a good idea to have some extra pairs. Let's say you're fighting a big fish, you've got him at the side of the boat, and you reach down to grab him and you're not thinking, oh, that water's 40 degrees. You just stick your hand and arm down in the water. Well, now those gloves are completely soaked, and it's nice if you've got a dry bag with an backup pair or two. So when it's real cold, I like having a couple pairs of extra gloves. And then in that dry bag, it's a good idea to have an entire change of clothes. Especially, today with kayaks, we've got motors on them, with fancy pedal drives. You can go a long way from the shore, a long way from the ramp. And if you do end up tipping or capsizing your kayak, you're going to want to get warm fast. You're going to get those cold clothes off. So it's important that you have a dry bag that you can open up, strip your cold clothes off, have pants, shirt, and then maybe another jacket in there to where you're not going to get hypothermia. Nothing worse than being cold, but I think about the coldest I've ever fallen in was mid 50 degree water. That's still not very pleasant. I challenge you to go out, find a stream somewhere this time of year and just take your shoes off and stand in that cold water and see how long it takes for those feet to get numb. It doesn't take real long. So you're gonna want to have that spare set of clothes so you can get warm quick. And that kind of segues into life jackets. A PFD, it's important to me. It's essential for kayak fishing any time of the year, but no time of the year is it more important than the winter time. And wearing a big bulky jacket, multiple layers on, and then putting a PFD on, you will kind of feel like the Michelin man out there. It does limit your mobility a little bit, but you just got to do it. if you, like I was talking before, if you do end up capsizing, you do end up in the water, you're going to get cold quick. And if you've ever tried, go out sometime, or maybe some of you guys, I remember in Boy Scouts, we had this exercise where we had to put clothes on and jump in the water. And then you take your clothes off and try to, tie off the pant legs and inflate them and use that as a life jacket. Well, it's cumbersome swimming with clothes or shoes on. Add to the fact that the water is super cold and you start to just go numb quickly, you're going to want, I don't care how strong of a swimmer you are, you're going to want the assist that you're going to get from that life jacket. That'll keep you floating, help you get your kayak back turned over. You can get back in it, dig in your dry bag, and get to your warm clothes. So those are a couple of things. The last thing that I want to talk about, I mentioned my feet get cold. The solution for me for that is boots like this. Now, these are NRS boundary boots. To me, these are better than anything on the market. It's thick, I believe it's neoprene, and it's insulated. So it keeps you warm. And when you're loading and unloading, launching, hopping in, a lot of times your feet are in the water. And the water is not going to soak through these. They're waterproof. They'll keep those toes nice and toasty. Some other options, those are around $100, I think. To me, that's the best option out there. But if you're more budget conscious, you could try something like wading boots or something like you hunt in. Any sort of waterproof type shoe. You're going to want something waterproof just for that when you're hopping in and out of the kayak in case you end up dipping that foot in the water, or just from splashing. If you end up splashing water in, you're going to want something that's not going to soak that water up. The big advantage of these that I kind of want to highlight is they're flat on the bottom. There's zero drop. And that's one thing, and I tried the other options. I tried just wearing, kind of the rubber wading boots that you pull on, muck boots, and they work, but they've got a big heel on them. And when you're standing in the kayak, you're not as stable. You're up. It's a little bit awkward for me being in those type of boots. You can still do it. It's definitely better than tennis shoes. But if you have the budget for it, those insulated boots that are flat, it's just you've got more surface area of your foot in contact with the boat, and for me it's a lot more comfortable, and those are essential. Anytime the water's or weather is kind of 50s or below, those things are on my feet. So a couple of ideas, things to think about. Still go out there, still fish. You can catch some giants this time of year, but be conscious of safety. Tell a friend, a loved one, where you're going to be. Make sure they know you're kind of planning for the day, so that if at a certain time you haven't contacted them, they know, hey, maybe we need to go start looking. And just again, some things, ideas to help keep you safe out there. Enjoy the fishing, but be safe at the same time.